Welcome to A Date with Danu right here on High TV. Thank you so very much for all your feedback, those comments that you get online. We appreciate them all. Today I'm going to be speaking to two personalities who have entered the world of politics. They have a great friendship and also a commitment to serve this country. Let's speak more on the show today. He's big on social media, and at the same time, he made a statement once. It always stays in my head. I want everyone to sit back and relax with a drink on a Friday evening. And that means it's a happy country. Let's speak with Dr. Harsha De Silva.
Hi, my name is Harsha De Silva. I'm a husband, father, citizen, also a politician. Danu is a character. My wife Devyana and I were on Danu's show, may have been 5-6 years ago. He only gets better with time. He's a great guy. Danu can be annoying at times, He may, laugh too loud or sort of roll on you or something like that, crush you. I hope he won't put any such pressure on us on the show today.
Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Danu.
You have lost weight.
I know. I wanted to lose 9 kilos.
Okay.
Which I did. And then I couldn't stop. I lost 2 more kilos.
Ayyo. If only my life was this easy in losing weight. But anyway, thank you for being on the show as always. I've always enjoyed your company. Something about Dr. Harsha, leave everything aside, his political entry and everything. I've always liked the fact that wherever he sees you, he'll take his time to come and say hi to you. And in your busy schedule, I'm just a little fly on the wall, but it feels great to know that there are people like you in this country.
Hey, pleasure. I mean, you're the elephant in the room, no?
Oh, thanks.
Fly on the wall.
Okay, so let's go back in time. That statement that you made so many years ago on my radio show, it really stayed in my head. You said to have a drink. It's not about the drink that I was going to talk about. It's a fact of having that freedom and that mindset to know that everyone in our country can enjoy a Friday evening without stressing about tomorrow. That's so precious. Tell me about that. Why did you say that to me?
No, I mean, that's been a tradition for many years. We have a close group of friends and we meet on a Friday night because everybody is busy during the week. One is a lawyer, other one is a businessman, other one is a bank, whatever. And then we keep for ourselves to chat and just to have a good time with our
friends and family.
Family, always. Yeah. But unfortunately, things are not that easy anymore. Okay, forget the COVID, but after that, with the economic situation changing, people are stressed out more. Relaxation, like you said, is really precious, I think, unless you're forced to relax because you have nothing else to do, no job, and therefore you are at home doing nothing. That's not what I'm talking about, obviously. So it is something that we really look forward to. I really enjoy it.
Let's go back in time. They always say politics is a dirty business to be a part of. You came from a corporate world. Are you happy doing politics?
Well, it's a up and down type of thing, Some days I'm extremely pleased with what I've been able to achieve that day, or something that came to fruition, something I started earlier. But some days I'm very, very upset things are not going well, not because of something I have done, but the system has failed the people. So, however, I'm personally very proud of one thing I did, and that is I have been able to give a sense of relaxation, to use your same words. In case of an emergency, you don't really have to worry anywhere in this country, whether it be in KKS or whether it be in Dondra. You have a heart attack, a 1990 Suicide will be there within say 8-9 minutes on average, and that is a huge satisfaction for me, that I've been able to relieve the stress in people's minds about what would I need to do, how would I take my wife to the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just the other day, I got a private message. You said social media on Facebook. It was from some old lady, and I'm planning to go and see her. She said, Harsha, I want to see you. I'm waiting to see you like a mother waiting to see her son. I mean, I don't think it can get any better than that, right? So, and then I told her, find her. We go and see her. So things like that, makes you feel good about, having office. Because if I was not in office, I would never have been able to do it. So
I think at the initial start, when this started, I think we were all a part of it. At the Gall Lit Fest, there was an incident, and it was in one of the areas where a normal person walking through to Gall Lit Fest, if you don't know the whole system of how Fort is, you get confused. But the ambulance found them within 4 minutes, and it was remarkable. It happened during a session where there was a foreign writer doing a session, and it was what everyone spoke about that day. Let's get into a break. On the other side, we're going to be speaking to another person who comes from the similar background, left a corporate job. I'm sure lots of us will just want to do that and go home. But why take up politics? Let's speak more when we do come back. Do stick around. It's Dates with Dhawan.
Vikramaratne. I'm a husband, I'm a father, and I'm now grandfather of little Ayan. I'm an economist, banker, and now a politician. I was intrigued that somebody like myself will be invited for a date with Danu, because I thought I'm out of that age group, but I know Danu as a very interesting character. I think he's been in our home too, a friend of my son, and always struck me as somebody who thinks out of the box, somebody who's looking for something new, innovative, and always wanting to communicate and relate to his audience. So in his attempt to be very innovative, I am expecting a few googlies, but I must say that I was also the opening batsman from my school cricket team, and I am quite used to playing those googlies unless he has some new ball to bowl at me.
Welcome back, and I have Eran Vikramaratne. Nice to have you. I'm going to leave all the titles out. I'm just going to call you all by your names. Forgive me and thank you for accepting it as well. So, you had a great job. Life was comfortable. You could have retired in style and just traveled the world and lived a good life. Why did you decide to serve the country?
I think life is a lot more than money and having a comfortable life and feeling thrilled and happy about yourself. It's a lot more. It's about people, it's about society, and I guess my upbringing also had something to do with it, always being concerned about people and society and other people and so forth. And I was brainwashed, right, with that upbringing, in a good way, brainwashed in a good way. So when I was invited into politics, I asked myself the question, should I go? It was on the third invitation that I actually took a seat in Parliament. I didn't go to do the logical mathematical calculation, because though the public don't know, the legal parliamentary pay is so low, it's unbelievable compared to being a CEO of a private quoted company in Sri Lanka. So I went because I thought it's the right thing to do.
And no regrets?
No regrets.
Okay. I just wanted to also narrate a little story to you. Your mum and my grand aunt studied together.
Oh, I
Did you know that your mum reached out to me through your son?
No, I had no idea.
I just wanted to tell this on air.
I didn't have any
So
idea.
my grand aunt
Yeah.
studied in the university with your mum.
Okay.
And when we were at a youth camp with your son Dishan, the souvenir went back to your house, and there she has read my surname, Inazitame. And she said, oh, does he have something to do with Dr. Inazitame from Jaffna? And your son called and asked me, and I said, yes. To see, they spoke after 40 odd years over the phone.
Wow. Wow, this is an amazing story.
I just wanted you to say it on air.
I didn't know that.
So they studied in
Yeah.
the same uni, I think, together.
Right.
Well, my
Right.
grandfather had many sisters, I
Right.
think like around 10.
Right.
So it's hard for me to, like, all the names are quite similar. I haven't
Right.
even seen half of them.
Right.
Actually, I haven't seen none of them. But it was quite a nice experience. It was in
Right.
2009 that they spoke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, many years
Right.
ago. I just want to tell this story. Like,
That's a lovely
wanted a
story.
little connection in here.
No, it's very nice to know. Very nice to know that.
Yeah, so now, you know, we always look at the two of you. You guys kind of came together, no? You all had this journey together. Have you all been friends before?
I mean, I've known Iran.
Yeah,
we have known Iran.
Before politics.
Before politics.
Okay.
You were the chairman of the ICTA.
That's right, yes.
Yeah. So at that time, I knew Iran. I mean, Iran was, head prefect of Royal College.
Yeah.
And a big guy, you know.
Yeah.
Of course, much older to us.
Said that also in the process.
He's paying me a compliment.
All right, it's time that we get into a break. We're going to come back and speak a little bit about what are the things that make us not believe in this structure called politics. Why is it always a campaign for votes, and why can't people just go out there and vote without a campaign? Let's speak about it when we do come back. Do stick around. It's a Take It Down. Welcome back to the show. You know, every 5 years, there's a campaign for people to go out and vote. As professionals who were on the other side of the fence, and now, why do you think it's always so hard to convince the public? Because every 5 years, we have unsatisfied questions that have not been answered. And do you feel this political system is corrupt? Does that cripple people who are with a good vision to serve this country not serve?
Who wants to take it? No, I don't think a campaign can really change the majority view of the electorate. It builds over a period of time. You know, you can't make Iran or me in a campaign or break either of us in a campaign of, say, 2 months.
Okay.
Right? But, you know, in the 5 years or 4.5 years, whatever, you do certain things in a certain way. And people watch you, I don't mean personally people, but governments, how they act, how they deal with crises, how they deal with general governance, how they deal with corruption, how they deal with foreign affairs, how they deal with human rights. And then, and also certainly in the background of either improving or worsening economic conditions. And as you very rightly pointed out, people like to live in peace, in relaxation, with less stress, enjoy life. So in all of that, people would then either tilt towards one side or the other. The kind of person or people currently expanding in size, in numbers, is what you call this floating vote, who are not Kepworth nil or Kepworth Kola or something like that. So you can appeal to those people to say, look, this is what I plan to do, right? This is what, if we get elected, we wish to achieve in the next cycle.
Yeah.
So that's how I think it gets firmed up in the minds of the voter to go and put a cross against A, B or C.
But do you feel like you all went to the parliament to do something? Do you feel that freedom of doing things, is it allowed, or there are so many barricades that we will never know? Like, as a person who is just out here, we only see what you can do and what you can't do. And even if you turn around and tell, I wasn't able to do it, you're just like, so who can make it if you can't make it? How is the system? How is it for somebody who was not a politician? You all were never brought up as politicians.
Yeah, this is a very good question, because people have an idea that we send these people there with great expectations, and then they don't reach our expectations. And I think it's a good question, because to understand how the political structure works. Now, when we talk about democracy, we have democracy and we equate it to going on election day and casting a ballot. That's what we call democracy. But that's not really democracy. Democracy has to be internal. Every institution needs to have some level of democracy. Now, if you take political parties in Sri Lanka, they're not democratic. One political party has a whole family. It's more like a kingdom. Other political party has a clique, and they manipulated the constitution in a way that there is no democracy. The fact that Harsha is contesting this time under SJB, he's really UNP, is because the UNP had no internal democracy to select its next leader. So for 26 years you've had the same leader and there is no internal democracy. So after this long struggle you stepped out. So there is no. So when it comes to you go into parliament, a few people, I call it the front rows in parliament, whether it's on that side or this side, try to control the whole structure. And then people don't understand that, okay, we as legislators, we played our role. In committees, we play our role. But when it comes to the executive function, right, you are hamstrung. Now it's despite that being hamstrung like that, whatever we have done, we have done. I remember the day like today, when Harsha came up with this idea that we can get some credit lines and we can do this ambulance service, and everybody just started to shout about it, including the doctors, right, including the trade unions, right, shouting about it and saying it can't be done, you're trying to get Indians to come here, it may be the Indian intelligence, and all kinds of stories, right, and so it can't be done. I remember the day. Right. I remember joining Harsha at the Golface Green when we said, no, we are going to do it. It doesn't matter what the opposition in the country is, and we will launch it. We launched it initially in a few districts. Today it's countrywide. 1990 is known, right? And it's so efficient. So many thousands of lives have been saved. Even during the COVID period, people have been carried, pregnant mothers have been carried, children have been delivered in the ambulance. It's unbelievable. Okay, so the reason I said that story is, sometimes people look at people like Harsha and myself and think like, these are dreamers, good people, we sent them, they haven't come to our expectations. But we are really more on policy for sure, because you have to use your knowledge. I was in the Ministry of Finance, and it's a place where you have to have lots of fiscal management, right policies and so forth. But people are used to politics like, how much of cash they got on a welfare program, or how many cement bags, or how many roofing sheets. That But we are also practical. Given the space, that's how 1990 was delivered.
But if the space was more, there could have been more success stories just like 1190.
Of course, I mean, I think back going, and I'm not regretting, I just think back. I was working in a multinational bank. I made a decision very early in life because my mother, you referred to, brainwashed me in a positive way and said, you are born in this country, there's a purpose while you are born here, you can go abroad to study, you can get some experience, but you return to Sri Lanka to serve Sri Lanka because there was a purpose in you being born here. So I was brought up like that. So when the multinational bank wanted to move me overseas, which they normally do because Sri Lanka is a small market, I refused. I looked, I joined the National Development Bank Group. In the National Development Bank Group, next thing we did is we said, let's broaden the franchise. And I came up with the idea of NDB Bank, lots of seniors were involved, pioneered the NDB Bank, launched the NDB Bank. It's one of the big banks in the country today within a few years, right? So, if that's not being practical, then I don't know what being practical is. But I hope we have the same opportunity in politics.
That is true. That is true. We need to speak about something very, very serious when we do come back. But before that, because these guys are always so like, there's 100 things happening around them. They have their phones buzzing. So I said for 1 hour, can we just relax and do this show? Eran even watched one of my old episodes just to see what he has got himself into. So let's put them on the hot seat. Right, it's hot seat. So I really did think of these questions and I sort of planned it right. So what will go to Harsha and what will go to Eran. So I'll start with you, Harsha.
Okay.
All right, here's your first question. Mervyn Silva, Upeksha aka Paba, if you do remember her, Milinda Morogoda. Who would you pick to bring back into the political arena in Sri Lanka?
Milinda Morogoda.
Okay. If you can change the color of the parliament outfit, which color would you pick and why? I know there isn't a color per se, but everyone just goes in white and it looks really sad.
Yeah, I go in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
So I pick my own color. But
if you had to give an overall look, like to the gentleman seated next to you.
Gray.
Gray. Done. Ex-presidents, name 3 who have inspired you the most.
Ex-presidents of Sri Lanka.
Yes.
JR, of course, number 1. Chandrika, number 2. And certainly not Maitripal, I'm sorry. And Premadasa, of course, 3.
All right. The Queen, Michelle Obama, Putin. Out of these 3 world leaders, who would you invite for a rice and curry at your place?
Michelle Obama.
Definitely, I'm with you. Please put a place for me as well. I think I have the hots for her. Please, if you're watching, please know. Okay, if you were named the president of the country, a ministry that you will demolish and a ministry that you will implement immediately.
Gosh. All the different religious affairs.
Okay.
And make one ministry for religious affairs.
Brilliant. To you. Okay. Would you say when the war ended on the 18th of May 2009, we gained peace? Yes or no?
No.
If a movie was to be made for Sri Lankan politics and you were to come up with a name for it, what would you name it?
The Way Not to Go.
Okay, in history, who has made the better, who have been better in being in parliament? Ex-film stars, ex-business personalities, or family politicians?
It's very difficult to put a category on it because if you take professionals, for example, and I'm not talking about self-employed professionals like lawyers or doctors, but if you take professionals as a group and if you take institutional professionals, there has been hardly any in the Sri Lankan parliament.
All right. If the parliament was on fire, name the last 3 people who you would like to save.
Surely you don't want to say the guy who threw the Bible.
I think I will look for the best 3 officials in Parliament.
Okay. To save.
Yes, of course,
Yeah,
because
because
every human life is equally important. In
Fine.
Sri Lanka, they always try to make the politician more important than everyone else.
True. I agree. Kumar Sangakkara, Malini Fonseca, Bhatia Jayakodi, Iraj Veeraratne. Who would you vote for and who would you not vote for if they were contesting? Okay, who would you vote for?
The ones I'm not familiar with everybody equally.
Okay.
But Kumar Sangakkara, I have a little bias for cricket.
Right.
Right. And one is he is accomplished in his field. He shows a level of leadership, right? And I think he's interesting, right?
Right.
So maybe
You'll vote for him. Not vote? That's the fun part of it.
Yeah, the fun part is the not voting.
Yeah.
I probably won't vote for those categories, because entertainment, like I won't vote for Danu to be in the Sri Lankan Parliament. I will vote Danu to be the superstar of Sri Lanka.
Thanks, man. My name was not even given in this option, but anyway, you somehow threw all the other 3 under the bus, but that's fine. But thank you. It's all right. I've got the answer that I need. All the other 3 was not going to vote for anyway. Let's get into a break. I don't think you all have sat at an interview like this, no?
No.
No.
First time.
Let's all say a prayer. We'll see you after the break. Do stick around. All right, so when it comes to beauty pageants, we have a lot of these beautiful girls walking on the streets, and if you ask them to take part to represent Sri Lanka, they're like, that's because the pageant world has been corrupt. Do you feel people don't come into politics because it's corrupt and we are missing out on some great leaders?
Yeah, I mean, that's the general feeling, no? Because a lot of politicians, I believe, are corrupt. Sorry to say that. But there are many who are actually quite honest and independent of political party. I mean, there are good people
From all.
on all sides. I mean, in the Porto, there are some, younger people, very good people. On our side, there are. But when I said many or most were not, I'm taking not just the 225 people in parliament, but from the Pradeshia Sabha,
All the way up.
from the Nagara Sabha. I mean, can you go to the Colombo Municipal Council and get a plan passed in time without making a certain Santosam payment? I doubt it. I had to change, when I built the house 20 years ago, our sewerage system, the main sewerage line on Malasekara Mawatha wasn't, it was something wrong with it, and they put a new one in, and then I had to connect the sewer.
All right.
And so, in order to do that, we had to make some changes. Believe me, I was an opposition MP at the time. It took something like 7 months
To get it done.
to get it done.
And that is you being an opposition MP.
Yeah, I just absolutely refused to pay.
I would have never got it then. I would have just been swimming in the sewer.
No. So what I'm saying is that is how the system works.
When you don't pay the buck.
The whole attitude about trying to pay something and get something done quickly kind of business must change, and until the attitudes change, that's how I see it around, this cannot be stopped.
Because I have worked in so many youth movements, and we see some phenomenal leaders who actually are passionate about a united Sri Lanka, who are passionate about a growth plan in our country, who are passionate enough to educate themselves and come back to this and earn pittance for the knowledge that they have. but yet they're willing to do all of this to see a better tomorrow. They are buying houses on mortgage because they want to live here. But why aren't these people coming forward? Why aren't they being guided? Why aren't they being harvested to come and serve?
Before I run answers, I want to say something. I mean, that's the issue, right? Because who likes to be, pointed the finger towards? I mean, you don't like it, right? I mean, like he said, 9 people will be critical. One person may say something good. And people use the same brush to paint everyone. So that is, I think, the most difficult, because when I went into politics, my sister didn't speak to me for 3 months. She's a consultant, pediatrician, and she says, Ayya, how am I going to face my, colleagues in hospital, that my brother is a politician, So, I mean, that's something that we had to maintain over the last 10 years.
We'll come back and speak about something that's really important that I can't wait. Let's track down to 2015. I think when Sri Lanka really made headlines for a change in government, and then for 5 years we made headlines for being, what have we done to ourselves? Let's speak more about it. But because these ones are very social media savvy, I was like, let's get them to make a post put it up on our social media. Okay, so while I'm going to let Harsha, because you're the leader when it comes to Twitter accounts, I'm going to let you tweet first. In this world, I'm going to speak to Iran till then. Okay. In this world of politics, we tend to lose a lot of things in life, and that's something that I was trying to get back. What's the first thing that you feel that you lost? Because people tend to quickly form an opinion about you, and all what you would have done in life will just eventually crumble to that one day in politics. How has that been emotionally, as a father, as now a grandfather, as a family man, as a Christian? How has all of this sort of worked for you?
I'm sure there is a negative side to it, because people accepted you for who you are, and then suddenly you have this new clothing called politics, and they would probably, some, not all, would have second thoughts. Should we have him over? Should we entertain him? He is a part of a corrupt government. He is a part of a corrupt political party, a system. So people will have some questions, and therefore there are probably some people who have distanced themselves from me, and that's probably the huge downside of this. But then I'm in this also for the greater benefit to society. So in reality, you are making some hard choices.
But do people call you for favors?
People do, because in Sri Lankan politics, like when I have my open day, for example, most people who come to get something done. They either want to put their child to a school, and they think that if you write a letter, they'll get their child to school. They want to get a house, right? So they want you to move in some government department to get them a house. Or they will come to you, generally it's jobs, education, houses. These are the 3 kind of categories. So that's one kind of thing you deal with every day, because in Sri Lanka it's become kind of normal to think that the politician is the one who distributes jobs, not job banks. That's kind of become standard in Sri Lanka. We have to change this culture. Then the other more problematic one is when you're a minister, when people come to you and they want a favor, either with a tax waiver or some customs duty waiver, or to put in a word on some tender that's going on and things like that. And I have probably lost some friends there too, because I have had phone calls from the highest in this country, right? And I have actually turned down the requests because they are strictly not within the rules of the game.
True. It's quite, it's a hard thing to own, no? Power or like this position, because lots of people are just drawn to you to see what you can offer. We'll come back and speak, because I really want to speak to a family man who loves to have a good time. How do you handle this at home? We'll speak when we do come back, because we need to remember anyone who, the 200 odd people who sit in Parliament, they have their life. They have a mother, they have a father, they have a wife, they have a child or a husband, and they all go back and just live a normal life. They burp after they eat. Like, they react just like us, but how is it? You know, it's quite annoying, or is it good? Let's speak more when we do come back. Welcome back to the show. In conversation with Harsha and Eran, we're speaking about their personal life. Never at home, campaigning times, meetings. Do you miss just going back home, wearing PJs or sarong at like 7 o'clock and watching TV, Netflixing and chilling?
Luckily, I discovered Netflix over COVID. So watched a lot of movies and, had a, relaxed, chill time, because my daughter was also at home because school was not in session. But I try to balance my work and family. I don't work on Sunday at all. I try to work not the whole day on Saturday also, but I work the entire week because I got to do what I got to do.
Does it hurt you? Because people who don't even know you, people who don't know the struggles that may go through, they're like, oh, that Harsha, such a disappointment, man, what is he doing? These are like, and you'll see these tweets, you'll see these Facebook statuses. Do they hurt you?
It does. It does. And what Eran told you earlier, I experienced the same thing. I mean, when people who are close to you sometimes don't appreciate what you do, that hurts a lot. Right? So I'm really, really fortunate because I have a great set of folks who I can always sort of rely on, right? Of course, beyond the family. So, I go to see my father, who will be 87 in a few days, once a week, because that's all I get time to, and I sit and chat with him. And at home, my son lives in the US now 9 years. He went to college and now he's working, has been working for 5 years in DC. But my little one is still in school, and there is a rule: I cannot come to her school to meet teachers or anything like that.
By the way, I saw him at Comic-Con, just wanted to say.
I go to Comic-Con because my daughter loves Comic-Con. She I just got her a Huion, which is a little gadget that you can draw characters. It's on its way because they increased the duties. I got landed.
He said they increased the duties and looked at me.
You're the Minister of Finance. But it's actually not Mangal and Eran who did that. It was recently. But, so she waits to go to Comic-Con.
But it's amazing that you go for these.
No, I do. Every year I go. And she loves comics. And she's in fact, she's sitting for O-levels this time, and she's already planned out her comic book.
Oh, super.
Which she's going to actually draw, and sort of the entire story she's been working on it, telling her mother about it more than me, and now she's got all the equipment to do it also. And even though I don't get to see my son that often, now today with
social media,
media, Zoom, it's as if he's
the most downloaded app for COVID.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked you is, when we even put up a show, there are so many comments you get, like, Danu is a fool, and you get all types of, you get the good, you get the bad, you get the ugly. And these people are just behind a keyboard and they just type it because they can. And if it breaks me this much, I just don't know how it must be feeling for you, because 99.99% will never say anything good about a politician. First thing is always going to be bad, even if they support the party or not.
But my wife always would stand by me when people, say nasty things. She knows the truth. She says, Harsha, don't take it seriously, man. What do they know?
And that's what's important, no?
She's a rock.
You kind of have to tell your whole family, we are going into this to, because your wife's support is needed, right, Iran? Like, I don't think you would have done it alone.
I had a girlfriend at 20, you see, and she's still around. So girlfriend support is needed for sure.
Good. Keeping the girlfriend spirit alive is so much better than having the wife spirit. All right, let's get into Sticky Situ. We'll see you after this.
Sticky Situ.
All right, welcome back to the show. This is something that I had to give Dr. Harsha 5 years ago. And it was ready 5 years ago. My friends from Jonathan Studios had it ready, but we never gave it to you.
Oh.
And we thought we'll give it to you because it's been, I'll leave it here. That's the Buzz with Danu show that you came on, do you remember?
Oh, of course.
That's 5 years ago. I was thinner, you had more hair.
I still have more hair than him.
But that's such a nice picture. So.
Oh, lovely.
And where was that taken?
At Casa Colombo.
Hey,
Beautiful.
you're half the man you were.
I know, half the size.
I know, I said it purposely.
It's beautiful.
I think they used Photoshop then to make me look thinner. But actually none of those suits fit me, men, so that means I put on weight.
Devyani hasn't changed.
Not at all.
Others, I'm not sure.
Yeah. His stress for me is food. That's about it. I have to speak to you all about this because it's sticky city. We can't be laughing about it during this time. This is an important question. 5 years in power. Everyone blamed someone. The president, the prime minister, I feel, had a huge part in it. Now, the United National Party is like one track with two avenues. Where do you think these 5 years collapsed?
I would say that I won't call it collapsed, okay? Certainly the relationship between the Prime Minister and the President had a bearing on it. It would have been much better performance if they understood what cohabitation was in a more mature way. It would have been a much better result. But I won't say it collapsed at all, because people will realize as the months roll by, right, what the successes of the government were, right? One success of the government was we prized life, we prized freedom, we prized democracy, we brought the 19th Amendment in, we empowered the citizen, we gave them the right to information, right? We changed the constitution, we put more checks and balances on the executive power, right? We basically strengthened parliamentary democracy, right? So these were some of the achievements on it, right? The right to life itself. Never had an allegation that we muffled the press, that the media people, were framed or hit or went missing or nothing during our period. So I would say that's why I said democratic framework was strengthened. More could have been done on reconciliation of this country post-war, but some things were done even on reconciliation. bringing communities together, having school children go from one part to the other part, having reconciliation groups, working together, bringing missing persons, the law in, then reparations law, and a lot of progress was done. Land that was taken during the war, right? 80% of which was returned during our period to its original owners. And we majored on really on the individual's rights, protection, communities, integration. We majored on those things. On the economy, we had on one hand a tough time because global growth and world economic growth slowed down, and Sri Lanka has also slowed down during that period. But for the first time in 63 years, the Sri Lankan budget had a surplus. Right, a surplus. It's called a primary surplus. That's when you take revenues and expenditures.
Yeah.
Revenues are more than expenditures. What did we do? People said sometimes you were taxing and so forth. What did we do with that? We did health services, for example. If somebody had to put a stent, they got it free in a hospital. If they had to get it from the private sector, a 350,000 rupee stent was given at 1,05,000. If they had to put something to the eyes, what do you call it, a cataract lens, that price was brought down. If you had diabetes, if you had cholesterol, if you had any major disease, all the prices for the first time since independence were drastically brought down during this period. If you had a patient in hospital who was suffering from cancer, the former government had a limit. 1.5 million was the limit, and government would spend on a cancer patient. After that, they just turned the patient off. If you were moneyed, you took him to the private hospital and you took care of your mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, or whoever, right? We came in and we abolished it, right? So the medical services, health services got a boost. Education expenditures were increased tremendously. Education expenditures were increased. Now, if you take soldiers, for example, right, then the direct line of fire, if they were maimed, those soldiers, right, basically what they got previously was a salary till they retired and the retirement benefits. When we came in, we said give the salary for life. Then widows came, young women came, right? I was moved by some of this, right? And said, oh, I'm young, my husband's gone, but I can't live off this, I can't do a job, I have 2 kids to look after. We said, lifetime of the widow we will give it. Then one day a guy came and said he was maimed. He was, from the ships, he was removing cargo, right? A soldier, right? And he was maimed while doing it, not in the direct line of fire.
Not yet, yeah.
We said for every soldier working, whether they are in the direct line of fire or not, we will give that. So the amount of things we did, right, in infrastructure building, the roads, right, that we put money behind the roads, we did a tremendous amount of work, Danu. Maybe we failed where you are succeeding, Danu. We sometimes don't know how to tell the story, and we probably didn't tell the story correctly. Maybe that's where we failed.
And also, the final question, a retirement or taking and giving the party over to a younger leader, why is it so hard to convince, especially when there's so many youngsters and such a rally of people, talent, asking for it, and it has been publicly asked? Why is it so hard? And why had this party need to break away and create another party?
It's a tough question because, there are lots of young people, right, now in the STAB because by and large, everyone's with Sajid. Except perhaps Ruan, unfortunately, who stayed back, and hopefully he will also join someday, hopefully. But, the talent is there. We respect the elder leaders of our party. But there comes a time when the baton has to be handed over to someone else to carry on. Because when I was 30, I had a lot of energy and drive. At 40, it's a little less, and 50, 60, 70, 80, it diminishes. How old is Trudeau? How old is Jacinta? Right? How old is, the Prime Minister, is it of Finland? The young lady, right? The ability to perform is greater at, I think, in the ages of maybe, in the 50s perhaps is an ideal age. But if it is not given, if it is undemocratically held on by a certain clique, like Eran mentioned at the beginning, then it's very unfair. And for a long period, this struggle of democratizing the party has gone on. And since I made a mention of our dear friend Ruwan, it's called the Ruwan Wijewardena report, because it was under his chairmanship that a report was prepared on how to democratize the party. How each person should be elected by a majority vote, right? With the working committee and the members of parliament and so on. So I hope that this would at some point, the two avenues would merge, and the younger leadership would be given the opportunity to take this country forward. Then I tell you, I am very optimistic about this country. You see, I am betting on, Eran knows, I'm very passionate about this, is the material that is going to energize mobile devices that will sort of fuel the fourth industrial revolution as we speak, is graphite. Graphene will replace lithium ion, and batteries are going to be the most important sort of engine that will make the economy run as it was in the previous revolution. The energy was fuel, oil, crude oil that came from the Middle East, but it's going to be graphite. The world's purest graphite comes from Sri Lanka. And making graphene out of graphite and then using those batteries for mobile devices, for cars, for planes, for everything, right, in the future
It's going to boom us.
is going to be huge. And I see how Sri Lanka will sort of graduate from producing simple products like shirts and trousers and shoes to complex products like electronic equipment, aircraft components, high-end software. And that's the only way we can really pay our people a decent wage, because you cannot sell a kilo of sophisticated equipment for the same price of a kilo of simple equipment. You see what I'm saying? So the reform has to happen, education curricula will have to change, and young people should be given the chance to lead that change.
Well, wishing everything on a good note and a good future. Well, the reason why I spoke to them is the fact that, they have such a corporate background and getting into the world of politics, serving the country for 10 years. How is it to be on that side and how is it to be on this side? So wanted to have them here. Thank you so very much for joining us on the show. As always, very insightful, very interesting and so well spoken. Thank you so very much for joining me on Date with Danu. Until we see you with another brilliant episode, you take care and have yourself a great day.